I wanted to give my opinion and thoughts on the 2015 R1. I've been an R1 rider now for about 2 to 3 years. I have a 2012, and yeah, so Yamaha just released this 2015, which is supposed to be a huge update to the Yamaha R1 lineup, a much needed refresher over the Big Bang motors. But I have to say I was kind of disappointed into it. Although the machine itself is quite badass. It's 200 horsepower, which is muchly needed because the BMW bike was starting to pull away in the horsepower numbers compared to the Jap bikes. The BMW is grossly underrated in the horsepower numbers. So I was happy to see the Yamaha finally catch up, match those horsepower numbers, and make it happen. And they kept the cross-plane setup design in the motor, which for those of you who are not familiar, that's a specific firing order. It's pretty much a 90-degree with every piston going around. So it's kind of very comparable to a V4. Handles and sounds the same. So they kept that, but they beefed it up a lot. Yeah, they made it lighter. They made it more powerful. 200 horsepower is quite a boost over the 178-ish it was at before. But the styling is absolutely atrocious. I don't know what's going on with the styling. We got these two little bug-eyed headlights. Yeah, they should just not have been in there. They should have just extended the slit down. I think the LEDs, the slit was a very smart move here, but they should have just extended it down and made a very sharp projection headlight like they've had in the R1s. It's like we're going backwards with the headlights instead of forwards. I think Yamaha forgot that this is still a street bike, too. Yeah, the track is great. I know. There's a lot of you that ride the track, get your knee down, you're crazy, you think you're Ben Spies, whoever. But a lot of R1s also live on the street, and they're street bikes. And I just don't see this design as like a practical like street. It's almost in the street bike aspect. It's almost like we've gone backwards, but we've gone a lot forwards in the track aspect. So the headlights have kind of like gone backwards almost. We don't have projectors. I'm sure it's not HID. Although I mean I know those are just creature comforts, and you race people will be like, oh, it's just added weight. Yeah, 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 whatever. But for me, if I'm gonna spend what 14, 15 G's on one of these things, I want it to look good, and that don't look good. I want my HIDs, I want my projectors. If I choose to race, then later on down the road I can buy the race fairing and eliminate the whole headlight assembly period. So, but they kind of got rid of that. Alright, but anyways, let's move on. So now we have these mirrors with the LED lights. Yes, I have to say to that. Great, finally. Nice to have them in there instead of these big fucking floppy ass things that stick out on the fairing that you have to replace them anyway, and then you gotta go buy a Watson or a Proton. And the Watson guy, he's kind of a douche, and he takes 6 months to get them to you. But yeah, so that finally they're just right there in the mirrors. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to do anything to them. Great, love it, love it, love it. And I do like the LED accent lighting. Kind of gives that Audi accent lighting look. The wheels, muchly needed. Finally, we've moved away from those ugly 5-spoke wheels, and we've moved to a 10-spoke Honda wheel setup. Let's see if I can get a better picture. Yeah, you can see the spokes very much sharper, kind of very similar to the Honda CBR 1000s. The CBR 1000 in my mind has always been the most beautiful bike styling wise, but the CBR package lacks a lot. No electronics. I mean, if you're gonna pay top dollar, I want a top dollar bike. And traction control and everything, as Valentino Rossi said, you can't handle these bikes in that type of power without traction control, and all the electronics have allowed the bikes to go so much further, and they've come so much further. So for me, not having electronics is a deal breaker. which is the same thing with the KTM. Yeah, it looks beautiful, no electronics. Anyways, the bike is supposedly roughly around the same weight. It's a little bit lighter, but I think the main thing they've done with the R1 lineup is they have compacted it. You know, the Big Bang was it's a big bike. It's very high sitting. It's very wide. You know, where most sport bikes are very narrow, where you sit and your legs go down, and they're very slim. The R1, uh, the Big Bang one, was just atrocious, like bike, very gnarly bike, and it weighs a lot. And that's always been a big complaint about everybody is that they want a more tight package. Because over the years, if you look, the R1 started out in '98, 2002, very thin bike, you know, neat package, very slim, standard line, and over the years they got like bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you got to like 2009, 2012. The bike was huge. You got like a huge side going on, you know, and they ran hot and just not very comfortable for anybody coming up, you know, who's maybe not used to a liter bike. It wasn't very friendly, to say the least, that's for sure. And that's what they tried to move away from and move back to a more tidy package. You could see here that it's more slim, toned down. I think that's gonna work out for it a lot there. And they've also removed the exhaust underneath. That's a big thing too. I like it actually underneath. I think they look fantastic with under tail exhaust, but um, for weight saving purposes now everybody puts them onto the side because it's more of a straight run out. You don't have to do the piping up under there, which is like alright, but doesn't really give the exhaust. It kind of looks old school to me when it's out the side. Although there's a lot of options you can do. I'm sure there'll be a tailor-made exhaust that'll come like right around here with a carbon fiber fairing and just one pipe out, and it'll look fantastic. I just hope they can do something for that headlight. Anyways, big upgrades in the suspension. Unfortunately, one of my drawbacks too was the brakes. I wanted to see Brembo. You know, Suzuki's got Brembo. A lot of people have Brembo. Aprilia has Brembo. Uh, Ducati, I'm pretty sure is Brembo too. Where's my Brembo brakes? Yeah, the brakes are good, but I want Brembo. Like those Brembo brakes look fantastic, and they really shine out. So it's kind of a drawback here, no Brembo. But hey, you know, the struts are definitely much better, and even the M package has the electronic suspension, which is like kind of the first in the Jap bikes. We've seen it in the HP4 and Ducati, the Pangalliar, but for the first time, the R1 has it, which is kind of cool, kind of interesting, neat. Of course, it's only the M model, which I don't think many people are gonna buy unless you're like a straight racer. So that's pretty much what it is. But yeah, it's nice to see that. You know, it's nice to see the suspension upgrades and stuff. The main thing though too is the, let's see if I can find a picture of the LCD display. This was nice. Kind of a bad shot here. Let's see if we can get a better shot here. Here we go. This is the basic one. And this is nice because, I mean, we used to have that ugly analog. I think the analog thing needs to go. You know, no one really wants to see an analog gauge anymore, period. But here we have our RPM, very similar to like the Honda or the CX-10R has a kind of a similar, not in an LCD though, it uses lights, but very clean, very nice looking display. Has all your little lights here and here and here. You have your power modes, your traction control. You know, it's just very nice and organized. It's nice to see that. I wish mine had it. I wish I could fit it to the 2012. It probably can be done if you wire the harness in right, but too much trouble. You know, but that's nice to see on the new one. You see this on a lot of high-end sport bikes, like the Agustas and the Aprilias and BMWs, but the BMW still has that analog tack in the center that I think is absolutely atrocious. But this is very nice. And then the M also has all this crazy stuff added to it, where you have your stability, your wheelie control. So you really see the Yamaha starting to get into electronics heavy here and keep up with the more exotic bikes that have just kind of run away with it, like BMW's just ran away with electronics, and no one has really even caught them yet. So it's just nice to see Yamaha getting there with that, getting closer to it. Let's see. Other than that, I must say it's a step in the right direction, but I wouldn't buy this. I just couldn't buy it. I'd have to wait for the next generation after this to see if the styling maybe got redone a little bit. But overall, I'm happy the kind of direction they went. But they really need to fire the styling guy. It's just the styling's not there. But thanks for kind of going over my thoughts and opinions about the R1. Hopefully I'll post another video on another bike we can talk about, and you can subscribe to it. So thanks guys, bye.